Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube. Today we have a beautiful guest, Katie Dean. I've actually known you for a long time, hey?
A really long time. We were trying to work that out.
Well, you've known Steve and Levi for a lot longer.
Yeah, so that would be, it would have to be like 11 years I've known them for, I reckon.
Crazy.
12?
We go way back. But I wanted to bring Katie on today to talk all things anxiety. Something that you've obviously spoken about a lot on your social media and just experienced.
Yeah, it's like anxiety has been a massive part of my life for as long as I can remember. Although I didn't know that that's what I was experiencing for so many years. I was just so uncomfortable and acting out around that. I think we're just doing anything to avoid that. But yeah, now it's always going to be one of my backup dances and I'm okay with that.
I want to dive into how you word it and the meaning you put on it. But before we get into that, I want this video to help all of you not feel so alone, because I think so many of us suffer by ourselves, thinking that no one understands what we're going through, or that something's wrong with us and it's really bad and we should be ashamed of it. But honestly, I don't know a female that doesn't experience anxiety on some
100%.
level.
Yeah.
And anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, they look different to everyone and they feel different to everyone. You will have different symptoms. What it looks like for me is totally different to Katie. What it feels like to me is different to Katie. Anxiety for everyone is different. Like I said, some people sweat, vomit, shake, pull their hair out, you know, get really agitated with themselves, distance themselves from other people. What you might need to help you through it can be so many things as well. So maybe let's start about talking about our personal experiences. Just
Sure.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Love to.
Love
Thanks
to.
for asking. So anxiety has changed and morphed for me over the years. Like I remember when I was about 18 or 19, it just used to get really panicky, really agitated, and just really feeling unsafe and like wanting to get out of my body, but I couldn't actually put my finger on what was going wrong, and I'd get really irritable. I remember ringing my mum from different places, like screaming into the phone, like trying to, like when I couldn't understand where I had to go or something like that. And it was just like the frustration that's Glennon Doyle speaks about it in, like, we often see our pain as like a hot potato, and we just want to pass it on. So that was what anxiety,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. When what we should actually be doing, or what is there's an invitation to with any emotion that comes up for us that's really uncomfortable, is like to bring it in and, you know, for it to teach us what we need to know about ourselves, rather than just like, this is uncomfortable and then passing it along. So it was definitely like that. Like I did anything to avoid it for so long. Like anytime I would start to get uncomfortable, I would like work over it, exercise over it. But yeah, I'd lay down of a night time and it would feel like my throat was going to close up. Like, and I'd like come up, and then I'd start, like, it got almost a little OCD at times, like having to check things, like check that the light switches were off, check that the taps were off, all of these things, trying to get control of something. You felt out of control of your body. Well, you start to become anxious about getting anxious. So you don't want to, you do anything and try and control everything so that you will not feel that way, or you will not feel what's coming up.
Anything to avoid that turbulence and like discomfort in your body.
Yeah, because I've invited anxiety in, like I don't try and run from it anymore. It tends to move through me a bit quicker, but it comes like, you know, when you're going down an elevator and you get that, I get like a wave will come over me, or if I'm triggered by something, my face will get really hot, and then it's like that still, like my whole body goes into that fight or flight. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What about you?
Yeah, I think mine started super young, when I was like 19, 20, when my parents were going through a really horrible divorce. And I remember like I thought I was having like fits on the ground, just being on the ground, like shaking, and I had no idea what it was, and neither did Steve. So I went to the doctor and just explained that I was crying all the time, sad all the time. That's when I went on antidepressants and anxiety medication. And that definitely like helped, obviously, but it also completely numbed me. I felt like I just was walking around like a zombie and I couldn't feel anything. I wasn't happy, sad. I was just like this, I don't know, I was just existing, and that felt really horrible. So kind of like slowly weaned myself off those, but then I felt like everything I'd suppressed for years was coming up. And then I think just doing a lot of self-development on myself and different courses with Anthony Robbins, I was, like you said, inviting it in to peel back the layers to figure out what was happening at the core and what was causing it. It's been up and down, but the last couple of years too, it came back really intensely, and I would like get really aggressive with myself. Like I remember talking to you one day saying that I literally want to, like, I feel like I'm pulling my hair out. It was this overwhelming amount of energy that I just like couldn't couldn't move through. So I've worked with a coach now this coach I've got now for over a year, and he's really helped just like face to face, having someone to help work on my breathing techniques and acknowledging what triggers my anxiety was really important. Flying for one is one. Talking about
Totally.
flying. But day to day, I feel if I have too much coffee, that definitely makes me feel more anxious all round. If I don't sleep enough, if I'm not looking after my body, like eating too much sugar and processed stuff and not looking after myself nutritionally, I just feel more on edge.
Totally.
And that brings on those anxious feelings about anything and everything.
Well, anxiety really is like messing with like it's an internal response to an external stimulus, right? So it's your nervous system on high alert. You are actually in fight or flight. So if you do want to like level out your anxious experiences and bring it back to a place where, you know, like the levels are like this rather than like this, because no one wants to be like this. Like, let's be very clear.
Numb.
Beige.
No.
We don't want beige.
No.
We like a little colour.
We like a little
We like a little colour. We want that up and down, that we need that polarity. So
100%.
anxiety and the waves and things like that aren't bad. We need to
stop labeling them as bad.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just another emotion, it's another experience, and then how we choose to name and label and talk about that experience defines it. But it's like, okay, so if we want to shorten the waves a little bit, what are we fueling our body with? If you're going to fuel it with a stimulant like coffee, I love coffee, so like I'm not toy-toying coffee.
Not at all. We had both had coffee this morning. It was delicious.
You know, you've got to just start to pay attention. Like what goes up must come down. And it's like if you're revving yourself up and you aren't actually expending that energy somewhere, as in like going for a 10K run or it's just in your system. You're going to have a response. If you're eating sugary foods and that sort of thing, and you know that might be a trigger for you, or you're just going to hype yourself up, that's going to have a response. If you're in an environment where you are on high alert, where you feel like you're walking on eggshells, like if you're in a stressful environment, you are naturally going to feel stressed. And that's the thing, like people often get so judgy on themselves about feeling anxious, or when they're feeling like super depressed, or they're having this emotional experience and they're like, I shouldn't be feeling this way, I've done all of this, I've done X, Y, and Z, I know better. It's like, well, if you actually stop and look around, you're actually going through a really stressful, tumultuous time.
You're still human.
And you're having a perfectly normal human response. There's that side of it, and then you have to look at, like, that's all the external stuff. And you can do a lot about that. We can choose what we put into our body. We can moderate. We can know when, if we do enjoy coffee, you know when the best times
100%
to have it.
The best days too.
The best days. Like if you're someone who's super sensitive, don't have a coffee as soon as you wake up. Like I've definitely found that when working with a lot of clients, they have a lot of stories around what state they need to be in to get things done. It's just like, well, I need these 2 coffees because that helps me work faster. But then the payoff, well, it's not even just about coffee. I know we're talking about coffee a lot today, but
even
it's just
pre-workouts or things like that.
Pre-workouts, even like, you know, looking at what music you're listening to.
Yeah, so true.
How stressy are some
Techno.
of these songs? Oh, on edge. Like if you're in a, you know, when you walk into a shop and sometimes they've got the and I'm like, my chest will 100%. Instantly start going. You know, it's just all about being aware and paying attention to like, oh, how did that make me feel? Oh, I just noticed a shift right then. What's going on? Like, what am I around?
Acknowledge it, like name it if you need to. And yeah, I don't like the word anxiety, like define that as who you are. It's something you're feeling and experiencing. And yeah, we don't need to run from it, but acknowledge it.
Totally.
Don't suppress it, because it's just going to build up and up. If you can acknowledge and like, oh God, that made me feel like I have a lump in my throat. I'm sweating right now, you know, acknowledge it and then peel back the layers and figure out why, and then decide what you're going to do from there. Something you said to me a long time ago that really has helped me, and I feel like has helped a lot of other people, but also ruffles quite a few feathers when I say it, and I've gotten very scared to say it online.
Okay, go.
But it really helped me.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not here to say I'm an expert or anything. This is just us sharing our personal experience and hoping that it helps you guys. But if you're feeling depressed, you're living in the past. If you're feeling anxious, you're living in the future. That could not be more true for me personally. If I start to feel really down and sad, I'm definitely like thinking about what happened yesterday, or thinking about my childhood, or thinking about something that went wrong, or something bloody Bob_88 said to me online. Like,
Bob_88.
And if I'm feeling anxious, when I sit down and just ground myself, I'm worrying about something that hasn't even happened. And I'm putting myself through this torturous, like, well, what if this happens? What if they see this? What if this doesn't work out? And it's so true for me, and it's really helped me.
It really is. We all run on these default settings, right? That we've picked up from childhood, or, you know,
So much from our childhood.
everything from our childhood. Like,
Yeah.
that's how it's meant to be. But when our, you know, prefrontal cortex doesn't finish developing until we're like 25 years old.
It's crazy, isn't
Crazy,
it?
right? So all of these coping mechanisms that we've picked up from anything before 25 are coming from an underdeveloped brain, right? So, you know, like, for instance, if you've got a fear of techno music, we were just talking about that, a rapid fear of techno music, and every time something happened when you were younger, that techno music started playing, and instantly you learnt that, oh, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
That techno music's playing, I've got to bolt. And that served you at that time, right?
Yes, and that's why you need to acknowledge and have appreciation for that traumatic time or something that's hard, because it did serve you.
It served you. At some point, these coping strategies, our fight or flight, our anxious response,
kept you
served
safe.
us.
Yeah.
So it's not the enemy. It's just something that we've learned that may not be serving us so much anymore, because as grown-ups, I'm still waiting for the adults to show up, to be honest. As women now, it's like, well, we get to choose how we want to respond to that. So you might be cruising around in day-to-day life and you hear that techno music or whatever it is that your trigger that you were speaking about, and it's like, what's come over you? Something that the switch is flipped. That default setting has gone off.
True. I love that. And just, I think a really important thing to learn and explore with yourself or with a coach, or, you know, someone like you, is triggers. I think when we understand our own triggers, because alcohol for years has been my biggest trigger, especially around men, that it's caused a lot of problems in my relationship with Steve. He loves to have a beer, but any male around me that picks up alcohol, I feel so triggered and anxious, and got to the point where I didn't want to go in social settings, I didn't want to go anywhere, I didn't want to be out with Steve if he was drinking. And because growing up with an abusive stepfather that drank all the time,
of course you're going to have that response.
Yeah, for how many years was I surrounded by that instantly triggers me. But when I acknowledged that and understood that it did serve me at times, I ran as a kid, or like as a teenager, didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
But understanding it and sitting with it and learning techniques, just even breath is just so powerful when I'm out around men that are drinking, just to sit and remind myself and think about it's like inner child work.
It's exactly what it is.
What did that little girl need in that moment? She needed to be told that she's safe, she's okay, she's not going to be hurt. So in that moment, like, I have to have those conversations with myself that you're out in a group, no one's going to hurt you, they're just having a couple of beers, you're safe, you're okay, take a breath, and then I can enjoy myself. But when I didn't understand breath or understand inner child or any of that, I would just be like, panic, anxiety, run.
Well, that's
go home, see you later.
And it all makes perfect sense.
And you miss out on connection, you miss out on fun, you miss out on whatever's happening in that environment.
But like meeting yourself with compassion there, because it's like, well, you know, this makes perfect sense based on the path that you've walked, your experiences that you've had, that this would make you uncomfortable, but then now you get to choose as the woman that you are, whether or not that emotional response is still relevant.
But see this dynamic here with like a friend, see how supportive and understanding Katie is, be like, oh, that makes perfect sense why you feel like that. You need to start being your own best friend. Because if your friend came to you and told you all of this, you'd be like, oh my gosh, well, you poor thing, of course. But when it comes to ourselves, we shame ourselves and go, oh, that's bad, you shouldn't be feeling like that. Why? Like, we judge ourselves so much and expect ourselves to be this like inhuman robot that doesn't feel anything and just be okay with everything. You've got experiences from your childhood and your past that are so real.
So real,
so valid.
And it's meant to be that way until you decide that that's not working for you anymore.
And you do get to decide. You have choice. That's where the really empowering feeling can come from. Like, you have a choice. You don't have to live like, oh, that's just who I am. That's just what I have to experience.
That drives me fluffing bonkers.
It does.
That's just what I do. That's just who I am.
And I used to be that person, so I have no judgment if that's triggering you right now, because I used to be that person, the biggest victim. But that's who I was. I was the biggest victim. And you know what? It did not serve me one bit. All it did was disconnect me from my own body. It didn't allow me to take any responsibility or have compassion for what I've been through or why I'm feeling like that. So that's a big step, is just to own it, acknowledge it, take responsibility for it, and know that you have power every single day to change the way that you respond to a situation.
Ruby.
So I've got a very cute dog here. Do you want to make an appearance? Come here, Ruby.
Oh.
So I came... This is Ruby. She's so cuddly and cute. She's like a human trapped in a dog's body.
She really is. She's a hybrid.
Honey.
So I'm just going to snooze now.
So what would be your biggest tools that have helped you or still help you now get through a trigger or just feeling anxious? Like if you wake up and you're like, oh, I just feel this heaviness on my chest and my heart's racing. Like, what's your go-to?
And that still does happen quite a bit.
What? You're human? You're not a robot?
I'm not.
Oh
What?
My God.
I know. I'm a mindset coach, and I still get anxious. 100%, I do. It keeps. You know, I think that's massive. Is that I realize that. Oh, you're so pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Compassion for sure, and I take it with me. Like it's definitely meeting myself where I am on a day-to-day basis with compassion, because our emotions and anxiety in particular is not something that needs to be fixed.
No.
It more often than not needs compassion, curiosity, and the space to move through. That I feel has really served me. And obviously coming back, like there's so many. There's so many because it's not just one thing that works on every single time. It's like having enough tools of awareness in a toolbox.
Yeah, there is so many different, it's like having a toolbox, right? And different tools will work for different days or different situations. I think for me, my biggest tool is nature. When I feel... I live 30 seconds from the beach, so I'm very, very blessed in that sense. We've just bought a block of land. It's a little bit more inland, but I love that I'm 30 seconds to the beach. If I feel anxious, going to the ocean, it does wonders for me. And then like walking, exercise for me is just like, oh God, it makes me feel so good. It gets me so grounded and connected to myself that then I'm calm enough to get curious on why I'm feeling like that. And then I can sit and like write things down or call my coach or message Katie or whatever I need to move through that if I need assistance. But nature for me just gets me really calm and grounded to see clear and see like what is actually going on here.
Movement in general is so important, and I know you're a big advocate for that.
Oh, it's number one. And
like I know that a lot of people would assume, especially like you being in the health sphere and how much you do exercise and train, how much of that though is actually for the mental benefit?
We were talking about this last night.
As opposed to the physical. It's like movement is medicine for mindset every single time. So
beautiful, that whole sentence you just said.
I should put it on a pillow.
Seriously, we were just talking about that last night, just how, well for me it was after I had Taj, but before Taj, training for me was all about looking a certain way. Like I wanted to be shredded, no cellulite, give me the six pack, like diet, like.
Have you had a six pack? I've never had a six pack.
I think I've had a 4-pack.
I've barely had a 2-pack.
No, I was so restrictive though. Like it was my whole life to get there. I thought once I get there, then I'll be happy. No, it's another whole conversation in itself. I remember looking in the mirror just feeling like you're just still not good enough. Yeah. It's such an inner work. But anyways, that's another whole conversation. We were saying last night, it is so for our mental health, like just to move each day. If we don't move each morning, well, I'm speaking for both of us, for me, if I don't move in the morning and just go for my walk, I definitely don't feel anxious, but I feel more antsy. And if I was to leave that 3 or 4 days, anxiety would just creep in. I wouldn't be able to handle life, mum life, work, anything that I do without feeling like that. Yeah, it helps move the heebie-jeebies. Like it's the excess energy. I'm the same. Like movement, excess energy, is as much a part. Well, that's all anxiety is, really. And if built up energy, stored energy, stuck energy, stuck somewhere within your body. Like, and bringing that attention back to wherever it is. But as soon as, because I have the boys on my own the majority of the time, I've factored it in that as soon as they do, I drop them off at school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't start my day, my working day. I don't see clients till 10:30, because as soon as I drop them off, it's as much a part of my working day to get out and move or do a Pilates class or walk as it is anything else. Because if I don't show up for myself in that way, 100%, and help that energy move through or just clear the slate, like bring it back, and everything else is affected. I don't want to say suffers. It's a roll-on effect. It is. Yeah. It's a ripple effect. And I love too that we are putting ourselves first as well, because I know I want to break the cycle of like, I feel like our parents, and you know, hats off to them, they just put us first before themselves.
Totally.
And they just were left so depleted, not knowing who they are, like super anxious and angry, or like don't know what they enjoy. Like I want Taj to see like, oh wow, mum does that for herself and she feels happy, and that exercise makes her feel good, or living her passion makes her feel good. Like this is why I love working. You know, I cop so much shit online for being, they call me a part-time mum sometimes, because I'm
nice.
like, lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, that's obviously their own stuff they're projecting.
Totally.
But for me, I do love doing things that make me happy and light me up, and I can contribute to the world as well, because I come back, I'm a better mum.
Well, it's this story,
you know?
that you have to be a martyr to be a good mother.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. You
No.
do not have to slowly kill yourself in order to show up for your children.
And what we do is what they will do. They don't do as we say, they do as we do. So being healthy, I want to walk the walk, so Taj can say that, not just tell him to be healthy and eat your veggies. Like I need to do that. So he's saying, oh, mum does this and that makes her feel good. Like I want to be that role model for him.
Becoming an example for our children, and being an example for our children, that also means showing them that it's okay to experience all of your emotions.
Yes, so true.
Now I have one more sensitive son. He experiences all of that. Now if I wasn't able to show him and show up in all of my humanness, that then blocks him from being 100%. In his humanness. So if I'm feeling,
he'd feel shamed.
He'd feel shamed.
Yeah.
And so if I'm feeling particularly anxious, I will say like I'm feeling a bit tight in my chest. I've got like a bit of a worry tummy, like using language that
they can relate
that they
to.
can understand. And that way, when he's feeling that, he's like, do you ever get like that? I'm like, all the time, you know.
Then he goes, oh, I'm not alone.
I'm not alone.
Mummy understands.
Exactly. It's okay to be human. And that's one of the best examples that you can ever display for your children, is that
100%.
We're humaning is messy.
Yeah.
And there's no right way to do it. And that's going to look how it looks.
And like, on the messy days, to acknowledge them. And we were just talking about this last night as well. Yes. Gretty and I were talking about how like just before our cycle, how we get way more snappy and agitated, and sometimes you take that out on the kids. But I was saying to Gretty, because she was feeling guilty about it, the most beautiful thing is when you can sit down and apologize to your kids. And when I say that to Taj, like, Mummy's really sorry, she got really frustrated, had really big feelings, and they came out in a not so nice way. Next time I'm going to try to lower my voice and take some breaths. And I was never modeled that, so I didn't know how to do that. It's very uncomfortable for me to do that. But if we can do that around our kids and with our kids growing up, that's going to be so normal for them to go, oh, so sorry, you know, I raised my voice at you. Gosh, I really should have checked in with myself and taken a few breaths, but I'm really sorry.
No.
Like, how nice would that be just to be normal?
Okay.
Yeah. This video's gone for nearly half an hour, which we can talk underwater.
Totally.
Literally. Came here at like, what time was it? I don't know, 1 or 2 yesterday?
Yep.
We just
haven't
babbled
stopped talking.
the whole day, the whole night.
Yeah. All the big topics.
Yeah. But I would love for you guys. Katie's been a massive part of my life and helped me through so much. You've got 2 books now, which are just incredible. I'm going to put photos up on the screen here. And where can they order them from?
Booktopia is probably the best at the moment. They've always got stock. I'm a bit slack on getting stock in, but there's Becoming Brave, which is a sassy woman's guide for turning fear into bravery, and that's a lot about my anxiety journey and how to learn to see your anxious patterns and experiences a different way. And Messy is a guide to living lighter and giving less walks, which is
love that.
yeah, just because it's all about lowering the bar and the expectations that we have on life. I think there's so much pressure, totally, to get everything right and have it look a certain way.
Fit into a box, yeah, more embrace the messiness of life, because we all are. Life is messy. Are you taking clients on at the moment?
I am still taking one-on-one clients.
Because last time I tried to book and you were very booked out. Rude.
I would make space for you. But yeah, no, I do go through phases where I'm not seeing as many clients because I'm trying to write book 3 and 4 at the same time, which is probably not the best idea. No. But I can't pick a lane. Anyway, we're not going to judge ourselves for that. But yeah, no, I am still taking clients, and you can book in at ktdean.com.au.
And that's for anyone who's struggling with anxiety, who's just feeling a little bit lost, wants some clarity.
Totally.
What else do you work with?
We do a lot of work around like creating new healthy habits, looking at patterns, limiting beliefs. Sometimes you just need someone to help you, support you through making these changes and implementing different things. Or
body image, binge eating.
Totally.
Had to go send a girlfriend to Katie for binge eating, and it helped her so much.
That's good.
So many different topics.
Because it's often like, especially with binge eating, like obviously I'm not a medical professional, and if it's in the more disordered eating, that's obviously you got to go to a someone who specializes in that. But if it's a way to avoid feeling how you're feeling, like it's just, again, so having someone ask the questions or hold a space for you.
Space. Oh, holding space, that just can help so much, can't it?
So much. Like how, like even in our friendship groups, like how often do we actually listen?
We can keep talking underwater. Gonna wrap this up now because otherwise you guys will be sitting here for like 3 hours.
And we're ticking all the boxes. These are all important things.
And that everything's all interconnected. Like, it can start with anxiety, but then it can lead to limiting beliefs and this and that. Like,
it's not just one thing.
No. But I will wrap this up, and if you guys want to get in contact with Katie, or I highly recommend getting her books, I'll put all your details in the description box below. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so fun.
And if you guys have any questions regarding anxiety or anything, I'm going to pop them in the questions box below, and I might get you to come on and type some answers.
Happy to do it. Absolutely. Happy to do that.
That'd be awesome. So comment below any questions, anything you learned or you loved about this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my next videos. But otherwise, I'll see you next time.
Bye.